Welcome, everybody, to this special edition of Real Talk Food Safety with Jill and Tia. Because as you can see below and around, we have an incredible panel of guests for you today.
Yes, and we're super excited to have them a part of our talk today because we are diving deep into our early leadership bootcamp.
Mm-hmm. And so our guests are joining us from actually all around the country. So while they're telling us a little bit about where they're from, we're hoping you will drop in the comments where you are from as well and where you're joining from today.
Yes, and if you're listening to us on replay on our YouTube channel, please put #replay so we know that you're listening to the replay and we can go back and answer any questions that you have in the comments and interact with you, because we do go back and look at your comments and answer questions that you have. So please add them, as well as your own perspective, right? Like, this is why we do Real Talk Food Safety, is because we want to have these conversations, and really we need to have these conversations within the industry, talking about food safety, talking about things that are happening in the industry with one another, so we can really be better together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I know we're going to do full introductions in a little bit, but I think we've got the coast covered, don't we? Let's see. Tia and Amy, you guys are on the East Coast.
Baltimore.
Charlotte area. Yes.
And then we have our West Coast friends. It's even earlier there for Mara and Maggie.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Guilty.
Right? But, I always think, though, on the West Coast, it seems like the sun is always shining.
Actually, today it is foggy where I am, so.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See, but, I just have the picture in my head is really different.
I know.
I mean, maybe during lunchtime it'll be sunny, but right now we have the June gloom going on.
Ooh, June gloom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I didn't even know that was a thing, but
right.
Okay.
Yep. Well, on top of weather, which that is a hot topic right now as we go into summer, right? This is the first time joining us, we do talk a lot about food safety and what's happening in the industry. And I want to introduce you to myself. I'm Tia, as well as Jill. She is my co-host. And we really spend time talking about how you develop and grow your technical leaders and teams. We help organizations really think about what it takes to build sustainable food safety cultures within the food and beverage industry. So, like I said, we go live every week on Wednesday at noon on LinkedIn to talk about these things, and you are a part of the conversation. So please add in the comments your perspective, your comments, your thoughts, because it is extremely helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and today we are talking all about boot camp. And I'm just going to put our banner on for a minute till we have everybody introduce themselves. But you've heard us talk a lot about technical leaders and kind of that transition from being a technical expert to a technical leader. Mm-hmm. And that happens whether you have direct reports or you are working through influencing. Because in food safety and quality, we do that a lot because we often don't own a lot of processes. We create programs for others to help engage and follow through on the behaviors and activities we want to see.
Yeah.
But we know that's not always easy. And so that's part of why we developed Bootcamp. And we've been doing Bootcamp for a couple of years now, because we really want to help people, set themselves up for success so that this can be easier and we love our jobs more.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, as we've done this, though, we often have people say, okay, what actually is boot camp? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and things are going well. And maybe not always perfect, but we figure them out because that's what we do when we're in food safety and quality. So how could boot camp help me help my team?
Right.
Guess what? Today's the day. Yeah. You get to ask all the questions. And we have our panel here for all the answers.
Absolutely. And we know we also have people out there that feel overworked or burnt out, and they're really thinking about how can I find back the passion in my job, or how do I help my team develop? because I know there's a lot of opportunity there. I just I can't quite do it, right? I can't quite get there. That's what boot camp is all about. And so you can also ask those questions, like Jill said here today, because that's what we're focusing on. And we're really going to give you a different way of thinking about how you can develop your team and a different opportunity that you could really use for your team development, for your own leadership development, right? To make sure that you are taking care of yourself and also leading in a way that we really need technical leaders to lead.
Mm-hmm. So enough of us just talking about what we're going to talk about today. Let's dive in. We have 3 incredible guests, and we are so fortunate to have you with us today. So let's start with introduction so that our audience can get to know you as well. So,
hi everybody. So, well, first of all, thank you, Jill, Tia, for the invitation to be in the show today. I'm Maggie Garcia, Senior Quality Assurance Manager at Slade Gordon. I'm with the seafood industry. Well, past experience, many. Plus, I'm 10 in quality food safety. I work in, let me count it, like 4 different continents, speak 4 different languages. I truly have the passion of what I do. I don't see myself doing anything else. And really, bootcamp, I mean, I've been following TNGL for quite a bit. I really enjoy all the different topics and really the scenarios that they are talking about while we are experiencing as professionals in food safety and quality, or what we can do better. So really, bootcamp is an experience where uh, if you, for me at least, was with the willingness to share, challenges, ideas, solutions with other professionals that are going through the same path. Because really, the my focus was, even though I have a goal, how do I achieve that? It can be achieved with different ways, right? So I wanted to see what other leaders put in practice, what other techniques are outside of what I'm already thinking, and how to improve myself. So thank you for having me today.
We're happy to have you.
very happy.
So
Awesome.
I'm Amy Parks. I'm Director of Innovation and Regulatory Compliance at Dole Fresh Vegetables, and innovation being really the food safety technical innovation piece. And just a little bit of background, when I took this position, I immediately reached out to Jill and said, okay, so I have a unique set of challenges. I've led teams in the plant before, but this time my team is on the opposite coast that I am. Some of my key business partners are on the opposite coast or in different locations because I work with all of our facilities, and my team supports the day-to-day, but we're not really in the day-to-day. And my team, I have 3 members on my team that have very distinct responsibilities. And so there's not a lot of like cross covering for each other where, you have a site manager that can cover for another site manager kind of thing. And so I was really looking for ways to help me be successful and try some different things, because I knew that it was a new position and a new set of challenges. And then after I went through boot camp, I signed all of my team up for boot camp. So
Which we love, having all your team in boot camp, which brings us to Mara.
Yeah. So I'm Mara Arroyo. I also work at Dole. I'm the Regulatory Compliance and Innovation Specialist. So Amy's my boss. I honestly didn't know what boot camp was at first. Like Amy said, she just kind of signed us all up, and I was like, I have no idea what to expect, but kind of going through it, I've definitely learned a lot just being in the industry, kind of a short period of time, about 5 years or so. And, learning things I didn't know I needed to learn, like the soft skills and communication and kind of being able to organize tasks to be more successful. So I think it definitely set a ground for me to kind of build on and, to become a better leader. So it was very good.
Awesome. Well, we are happy to have all three of you a part of our program, but of course also on our show, sharing the good news really, and sharing how this program has helped you develop from being that technical expert in the field to really growing into technical leadership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to kind of start us off, so Mara, actually, something you mentioned really kind of sticks out to me talking about soft skills. Mm-hmm. Because I think when we talk about being technical experts, or even if we're not, we're people in different roles talk a lot about how soft skills make a difference and that we all need to work on soft skills. But I think sometimes we also know, like, well, we are able to get along with people, and yes, we know we need to collaborate and we need to compromise. What do you think was a little bit different about kind of approaching soft skills through boot camp?
I think it gave kind of more, we all have, a relatively sound technical background, but it kind of allowed us to use that expertise or show us how we can present it to others so that they're more, I guess, inclined to either like help us out or even just ask questions so that they have a better understanding of what we're doing. And I think that just communication back and forth between different departments or even just kind of sharing like our expertise helps move processes along because there's a shared sense of understanding. So I think just like having the soft skills helps kind of interact with others. Cause for me personally, I'm not very good at soft skills. So it was kind of giving me the tools to be able to communicate with others so that, I have my expertise, but maybe they have something to add also. And then that communication allows us to work together and collaborate to, get to our goals.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes too, right? Food safety is seen as the bad cop. They always tell us no. They never, they're not very helpful. And sometimes it's because that maybe we get the problem at the end of the process. And so, right before a product launches, they come to us and say, hey, what about can you get the labels approved? I'm like, whoa, and not just or the product's developed. Hey, we're gonna launch it. Oh wait, we need a validation study. And so it's really, to Mara's point, that collaboration in the beginning and that understanding of, guys, the timeline for this is 8 weeks. If you build this timeline in, we can tell you yes faster if you would just include us earlier, and getting them to really see us as a resource and not just the person that always says no is super important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And even understanding other departments' priorities. And at the end of the day, you have the same goal, but it's how the approach that you're having with the other departments, how you align with them, and then understand the value added or what you're bringing to that project, let's say, and that they understand that value, and that you want to be there for supporting them, and because what you want at your end goal is the successful of the entire company. So I think to what helped me a lot, and I moved to a new role recently, so I put in practice so many techniques that I learned. For example, when I was performing my introduction with the different departments, I really wanted to understand their priorities. So because maybe those can shift from mine. So I put that in practice, and I can say that was really, really helpful.
Yeah. I like how you brought up, like, all three of you talked about communicating with other functions, because that's what we do, right? Like, we know that we're influencers, and a lot of the work that we do, we're not the executors, right? The other functions are executing the processes that we're trying to roll out. And so you all talked about communicating with other functions, and Maggie talked a little bit about how she learned about other functions differently after going through boot camp. I'm curious on just those conversations, and Amy went into processes, right? Like including us earlier. And we all know that in food safety and quality, right? Like a huge struggle on like, just include us. What skills did you learn specifically in boot camp to help you have those conversations, or make those conversations maybe a little bit more pleasant or more successful?
I think it's really important to be intentional. I think when there is a project or something that you need to follow up, that you know I can say for experience in the past, I tend to assume, oh, I send the email, so I'm sure they're going to be following up on that. But really, it doesn't happen every time, right? Most of the time, actually. And and really, so if you want to change, you need to be intentional, and the team understand that. Yes, we have a deadline. We have this project that we need to commit, and we all together need to achieve that. So I think that's something, that was a really good point. I mean, T and Jill keeps saying, be intentional. You need to do that. So that was helpful.
And I think it's gathering and clarifying the information and the expectations and really digging in and understanding the why behind the ask. Because, I mean, it's easy to say, can you help me get this done? And you say, sure. And then, you can't get it done because you don't have all the information. And then you're like, oh yeah, I see where I might be the roadblock, or my team, is, we need to be involved earlier, but maybe we aren't asking the right questions either. And so it was really the clear expectations for me, what was big. And I realized that maybe I wasn't setting as clear expectations for my team either. And so some of that, just picking that apart and really being very clear and understanding that asking for clarity and asking for clear expectations and providing clear expectations isn't me micromanaging my people, but it is, or micromanaging my team, but it's giving them what they need to be able to be free to do what they need to do.
Right. Yeah.
And to kind of go off of that, it's also like working with others to see what the priorities are. Because I mean, for me, I'm working with like different departments that have completely different, priorities, but kind of setting those all together in one and going through, okay, what's a priority for your team? What's a priority for your team? And then put together like just that list. And then, that definitely helped me kind of actually visualize what responsibilities I had and figure out, okay, I can work on like these two things this week. And then kind of setting those like expectations with others to say, yes, I understand this is your priority, but I do have other things going on. So it's going to get put, on the list, but it might not happen today or tomorrow, but soon.
Yeah.
And really, another technique I remember really clearly that I remember talking about scenario where, to your point, Mara, right? You have different priorities, but how I can support maybe that other department, for example, maintenance, to achieve that task that they need to, the goal that they need to perform, how I can help them. Because when they see you, they see that you have the right approach, that you're supportive and you want to help, they will go back and they will do the same. I can say that happened already in previous experiences. When my team see, or the other departments see I'm supportive, they will be there, they will have my back, and they will support me as well. So I think it's relationship too. So having the time, having the intention, and allowing yourself to build those relationships. I have to say I was guilty in the past of doing that. I was focused a lot on my full day, my task. I need to achieve this. But I was not thinking about I need to build those relationships, because in a company it's not just one person that is performing the job. It's a teamwork. So that was really helpful too.
Yeah, and I've noticed that, even me, like kind of that sort of way of saying, okay, I'll do this for you and kind of help you out. And then I've noticed that, that person will come back to me, earlier in discussions and say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Is there anything that might, for like regulatory wise, is there anything that might get in the way of us completing this? And I think that relationship part is allowing, I think, people to see like, okay, if I involve her earlier on, then maybe it won't get held up later down the road. Or, um, I've just noticed that that's starting to happen with not just like one person, but the more I like work with different departments to see, like, others will start to come to me and ask things instead of saying we're going to do it and then figure out later down the road we can't actually do it unless like X, Y, and Z get done.
Right.
So yeah, building those relationships, I think, is really key.
Now, and I love how you've all shared different aspects that you're like, okay, here's a place where something we learned or did at boot camp has made a difference. And so I'm going to kind of be on the other side. I'll be devil's advocate a little bit, right? Because a lot of people will say, well, these things seem like things we talk about all the time. Like, yes, we should have clear expectations. And yes, we know relationships are important. So, yep, I get that. I do that already. What would boot camp do for me? So I'm curious, like, because I bet, like, we talked about these things. We all know that they're important, but what do you think shifted for you to have more success in these areas than just going, yeah, I know I need to build relationships, or yep, I know I need to clarify and be really clear on what we're doing?
I think it was for me. I think it was the activity where we broke down my job description and we said, what does this mean? And what am I supposed to do with this? And then I realized, and I've started working on these for my team, I'm taking their individual job descriptions and doing the same thing. Because once I really started to dig into that, and I sat down with my boss and I said, okay, like, this is what I think this bullet point in my job description means, but I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. And she was like, yeah, we missed this, or, well, you're right, or no, you're off here. And this is what I would, and so what my team will eventually have in the next couple of months is not only their job description, but a list of expectations and the deliverables tied to each of those points. And I think for me, that's super helpful because I have found myself as I'm going through that, even clarifying their roles in my mind a little bit clearer. And then I'm realizing where we've had conversations and I'm like, oh, I wasn't clear here. This is why, we were frustrated in our follow-up meeting because I thought I asked for X and Mara thought I asked for Y and we got X, Y, but it wasn't what either of us wanted, right? Like, and not in a bad way, but just like, oh yeah, now I can see, where I'm not getting the info. Or when somebody comes to me for something, like saying, okay, I think you asked for this, but is this what you want, or do you want it to look a little bit different? Is that picking those like that job description apart for me was just eye-opening in terms of the clear expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the tool, it was more like, yes, we know that it's things that, should be done, but it's like having that, time set aside to actually go through it and have the tools to do that. Because I mean, like, I knew like, okay, like, sure, I need to figure out what my priorities are, but it's like, how do I go about that without the tools? So I think actually, like, even having conversations with, other people in the industry, maybe not necessarily internally, and just kind of hearing what they also have to say kind of gave me another set of like ideas that I could use in my own like day to day, or like add that onto the tools that we learned and kind of be able to kind of, like Amy said, like break down things to actually fully understand what we're looking for.
Absolutely, I agree. So I think, in the bootcamp, we have many case studies that we went through. So we were sharing, as Mara's just explained, we were sharing ideas. What do we think can be the potential solutions? And just understanding that there are different ways we can get to that goal. But that's okay, as long as, at the end of the day, we're achieving our purpose, our goals. So, and actually, what I enjoy a lot is, feeling that connection with other professionals and just feeling that I was not, alone in this journey, and that we all have different challenges and we all have different scenarios that we go through. But what really matters is what you learn from those experiences, and that today's challenge it's not going to be tomorrow. So I think that really, having that opportunities to share those ideas and potential solutions were like paramount for me.
Mm. I agree. I love those group sessions. Even for myself, being a facilitator, I learn from those group sessions and learning for other people in the industry. And, that is a really good point. And Amy, I love the example of going through your job description. It just reminds us that the information we get at work is so not clear, right? Like, and that's what you're supposed to be doing. And you're like, it is not clear at all. And we've all had job descriptions. Like, show me a job description that is actually extremely clear. It's almost impossible to do. Otherwise, your job description is going to be like 10 pages long.
Right.
So it's almost impossible to do. But when you're actually doing the job, you need those clear expectations. Exactly what should you be working on this year, and how that is going to flow next year. And what should you be focused on with your teams, right? And how should you divide the work and let them know what their priorities are so that they can then have conversations with other functions. So, doing that work is so, so important. And we focus on that at Bootcamp because we know the things around us that's supposed to let us know what we should be doing or supposed to be showing us our priorities, they're typically not that clear at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think for me too, like with the statement of work, I did the same thing. I took everything that I thought, everything that my team is responsible for, right? And I was owning it. And I sat down with my boss, and my boss is like, so I'm going to help you by showing you where these need to go. She was like, you don't need to own this, right? Like, because I tend, because my team owns it, then I was like, oh, this, like, I'm responsible. And she was like, nope. So it really helped facilitate some of those clarification conversations in a good way to kind of, because I was new to the company when I did it here. And so it was a great time to build that relationship with my boss and then be able to see into the future for my team, what the team goals needed to look like and how I needed to get them and reprioritize. Yep.
So a couple of you, Amy and Maggie, you both said, like, I'm new to my role when you were going through boot camp, or you were new to your team. I'm curious on your perspective on, and we talk a lot about Early Technical Leader Bootcamp as someone that if you are new to your team, this is something to get your a great foundation, right? With a lot of our clients, we use it as their onboarding tool. So I would love for you all to kind of talk through how has this helped you get a running start in your new role? What things you've kind of picked up or how it's kind of helped you there.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry. I think for me, Tia, because I was stepping up, I had been a QA manager in a facility, a plant several years ago, and I'd been a corporate food safety manager, and I was working more at the corporate level. My husband and I had a lot of he had to listen a lot to me when I was doing the risk and rewards and pros and cons of taking this position, because I realized it was that kind of next level of leadership. And while I knew I'd managed teams successfully in the past, it was this new set of factors, like business partners that weren't in the same building, teams that weren't in the same building. It's like, well, how do I lead somebody that I'm not going to see every day? And Zoom's great, but I mean, we were a year into COVID when I took this position. And so, we were already like a little tired of being on camera all the time. And it's like, and with COVID, it was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to travel maybe as frequently as what I need to be, or there's, space requirements, or maybe, meeting room requirements or whatever. And it was really just this, like, I told O'Brien, I do not like to be, I love challenges. And I love picking problems apart and fixing things and putting processes into place. But I was really nervous that coming on board, I was going to mess something up and just not from a team perspective, right? And not be there for my team in the way that I wanted to be. And so, I made the decision to make the personal investment to do it because it was super important to me. And I think the skills that I've learned, like, I see where I was starting to learn them in the past, but really some of the tools that you guys have laid out was really easy to like take and plug and play. And like Mara can tell you that after I got through with the statement of work, I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to go through this, everybody, one day, someday. Like, we're going to do this activity because it's really, to me, it was a really eye-opening activity. And I was like, I started to see how we could, really help my team kind of take it to the next level. But
Yeah.
So, in my case, right? So, as I shared before too, I mean, all the different techniques, all the different tools, I did my best to put it in practice. What that means is when I was introducing myself, trying to gain from their understanding their priorities, how they like to communicate. Because yes, to your point, Jill, and Tia, there are things that you will think, right? Oh, yes, that's easy to do. Yes, we all know we need to communicate. We all know we need to talk to the different departments, but it's how you approach that, how you do it, and what information you gain from there. Because, for example, I make questions to my boss. How is the best way that I should be approaching you in this situation? Or what level of communication do you like, that I send you an email or I call you? So I wanted to understand really the expectation that she had for me. And I mean, it's been working fantastic. I actually am blessed, I think, in the company I'm at now. I mean, it's even the onboarding, even just to understanding, okay, how an onboarding plan should look like. And that's what I got. So I have to say, I'm blessed about that because, I mean, it's been fantastic, the onboarding that they have for me, and and with the right questions. As you just said a moment ago, how Amy said a moment ago, which are the questions, the important questions, the key questions that you need to ask. So I think that was the perfect combination.
Nice. Well, and that's once again, when we talk about boot camp or any of our programs, it's really like, how do we help people set themselves up for success?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we get, I don't want to say it's not necessarily the early wins, because I think it's more of some of those foundational pieces that we all know about and we have different experience with, but it's really helping build on that to get to that next level. So I love how you talked about that, Maggie, when you brought it in. Like, we know we're supposed to like communicate. We know we're supposed to build relationships. But I think, Mara, even as you said, it's kind of when you actually carve out the time to be intentional about doing it, the outcome can be different than just when you're kind of plowing through it the way that we've done it in the past.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that some of those leadership classes, like that we've all probably taken, right, where we have the day of situational leadership or the day of difficult conversations, and we set aside that 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours or 8 hours to go through that, couple of day workshop. But then I think the benefit of this program was that it was bite-sized information. And so you didn't get 8 hours of like, this is how you manage a situation with difficult conversations or whatever, all like crammed into one day with like no ability to like go try it and come back. And so I think that's one of the things, is that bite-sized kind of broken down pieces where you're able to work on it over time. And like, and I love the way that you guys challenge us to come back, right, and say, okay, tell me how this worked. How did it work? And I think that's really important, because I think that's that other piece of, I applied it, I tried it, it didn't go like I wanted it to. Let's pick it apart and figure out why it didn't, and then try something new the next time. So I think that's a bigger benefit of this versus just that 4 hours of class and the free pizza afterwards, right?
Well, I think it also adds like another level of accountability, whether it's like you want to share or not. I mean, just knowing that if you want to share, then you might get asked, how did it go? So I think that just kind of adds that piece to like actually apply, or like kind of makes you want to apply, to be able to share like, oh, it did work, or oh, it didn't work, is there any other suggestions, and kind of like go through it with others instead of just yourself, like, oh, it didn't work, I don't know what to do now, and kind of have it stop there. Whereas like, you can try it out. If it doesn't work, then you can come back and say, oh, it didn't really work that well. Is there anything else that I can do?
Yeah.
I think that's an important part that you bring up is the bite size. So one of the things that we try to recognize is not everybody learns, right? We all learn in different ways.
Right.
And so, right, we try to layer with like having a video and having some worksheets to be able to have some reflection, but also having community time and even some follow-ups in between. As you think about those different pieces, because I think sometimes people go, wow, that's a lot. I don't have time for that. What? What would you say if they were like, oh, I just don't think I would have time. That seems like way too much and way too many things to do.
I think you can say that, but I think it's worth the investment to set the time aside, because if you don't invest in yourself and take the time to make it work, then you're not getting the benefit out of the program. I mean, thank God for your patience, Jill. When I started, there was a lot going on and there was a lot of things, just trying to get my new job and roll under my belt. Right. And so, I took it maybe a little slower than my team did, in terms of going through the program, but it was really like, okay, you can not do it, or you can participate and get something out of it and be better, or you can just go through the motions and at the end of the day be like frustrated with yourself because you're still stuck where you don't want to be. And so I think that the bite size makes it manageable to set aside a couple of hours a week. And then I think the other thing too is, as we had the community time, I didn't want to come behind. And so then that really, like Mara said, that accountability piece, right? Like I needed to come prepared, so I wasn't the only one that said I didn't do my homework. So that's part of my personality. I can't be the only one left out. So
Right.
I think that, like, you just have to do it. You just have to make the investment for yourself.
No, and really, if you think about the boot camp, is like you could, go through the scenarios. If something didn't happen, you're allowed to fail, and you discuss what went wrong, what went well, what was your win or not, and then figure it out, with your group, and share your ideas. And maybe if that didn't work, okay, what other thing I can put in practice. So it's not, I will say, there, I know I like to communicate. I'm all about that. That's the person who I am. I like to meet new people, but there are people are not like that. But I can say to these people is, they will walk you step by step. There will be a group of people, and you will not feel like, oh, I'm the only one talking. You will feel like, okay, there are other ones like me that have these same situations. And even it's beneficial because you will see situations where scenarios that maybe you're going through and other people's already figure out how to deal with that. So I think what a better win-win situation, right? So I really wish that I see, senior management, and I see more leaders that are thinking already, okay, what is my succession plan? Or how do I really have my team to get these soft skills or this expertise on doing this? Like, for example, what Amy just mentioned, I think that's fantastic. I mean, all leaders should be doing that. I mean, thinking about how I can share what I'm learning with my team. And because that will be just beneficial with turnover, all the turnover rate. You will have, a team that is happy, because the biggest issues when someone is leaving from your company is because they didn't feel appreciated. They didn't receive support from their boss or the company, and those are the biggest, I think, struggles when different team members are going through in those situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I love you all sharing these perspectives, because you all are sitting at different places, right? Like whether it's at different levels of the organization or in different organizations. And the fact that you were able to take this information and apply it where you are is so important. I know it's so important to us to make sure that this information is relevant for you leading your teams and leading really your organization. And that really goes into our question around food safety culture, because that is the buzzword right now, right? Everyone's trying to figure out, how do I build my food safety culture? And we really like our programs to be grounded in that, right? And we really do feel like the work that we do around the technical side of things, and as well as the leadership side of things, and how we help integrate that, is really helping organizations push their food safety culture forward and grow their food safety culture. So, I really would like to hear your perspective on how you feel boot camp supports leaders to live the food safety culture they want to see.
Waiting to see who's going to speak first. I think for me, I love to know the why behind the how, the what, the when, the where. I love that. I love the why. And so I think for me, like going through some of these expectations and priorities and different things like that, like you realize that maybe we have these processes in place and we have the programs in place because of regulatory or customer requirements or whatever the case may be, but really stopping to explain to the people you're interacting with why we're doing something, and not just, oh my gosh, you have to get this done, we have to stop everything until you get it. And then that why starts to bring in some of those questions or those thinking. The others are starting to think. I mean, the other day we had a situation, and I told the team, I was like, so like you can be a little more riskier and we could do this versus that. And the team was like, no, we'll stick with that. And I was like, cool. And my job here is done, right? But they understood the why behind the decision we were making. And they decided to be a little more conservative in that approach. And that is where that win comes in. But it's really that clarity around the whys, right? And understanding what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah.
So Amy, sorry, just to kind of follow up on that. So when you talk about kind of how that relates to food safety culture, it sounds like it's really about providing clarity on like, what are the things that we value and how do we make decisions together around food safety? I think is what I heard coming out of that,
right,
out of your example, that it really allowed for a space to have that conversation and to ask questions if needed, but really promoting everybody's part of food safety culture and food safety. And so that conversation then is a little bit different than maybe in the past.
Right.
Yeah. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, Maggie, I jumped in as you were going to talk.
No, that's fine. So, and really, I think for food safety culture, it's really extremely valuable. Just having, yes, you can have a program, right? But how you meet that, it's not like the food safety culture doesn't happen in a day. I mean, it's really, you need to have a plan. You need to work on that. You need to have a team. You need to have the buy-in from the senior leadership team. I mean, they need to understand the vision and they wanted to be involved on that. So I think, you, Jill and Tia, provide, with that your expertise, you provide that plan that people can really say, okay, this is what we should be focusing now. And it's not a plan for a month or a year. I mean, it's something, the food safety culture should be the basics of every company. So it's something that you should always, look for and you expect to have. So I think, yes, I mean, that's how it can be beneficial.
And to kind of go off of what Amy said about the people actually choosing, more conservative routes, is just kind of that explanation and being able to communicate, like, here are your options. Which one are you going to pick? Because we can do all of these, but like, I recommend, let's say this one, but I know the business wants this one. So if there's like a middle ground that's not quite as risky, but also not super conservative, and trying to find solutions, but it makes them, I think about it more like, yeah, we can do that, but here are the risks that are involved versus this option, and here are the risks involved. So I think it's just kind of having them think more about what we're trying to communicate, like what we're trying to say. Okay, we're trying to have it be the safe route, but if you want to do it this way and I'm just going to lay it out for you, we can, but this and this has to happen. So I think it kind of has them thinking like, okay, the next time I ask about this, I know what the pros and cons are, so let me just automatically go with something a little bit safer just in case, so nothing bad happens.
But I think too, it's that, so we have the regulatory minimum. Here's what we absolutely have to do to meet the bare minimum. And then we have the food safety, world-class, top of the line, probably going to slow down operations and efficiencies, right? Because we want to take 5 extra steps to get there. And then it's like, so this might be a little, what we might call a little riskier in terms of it's not quite where we want food safety, like where world-class, best in show processes for us over here. But it's really, like Mara said, finding that middle ground of like everybody's happy at the end of the day. We have efficiencies, we have the business needs are met, and then we have above the minimum requirements for food safety. So it's really that coming together and pushing that together, which is exciting.
But I also think like even just communicating that kind of shows the scale of it, so that when they come back next time, they already kind of have maybe it might not be the same situation, but they already have an idea of like, okay, here's our minimum and here's what we want to do. Okay, let me like come up with something in the meantime before I start asking, like either myself or Amy, what can we do? And then I think that just even facilitates them thinking about it, maybe not even just like consciously thinking about it, but they already think like, okay, there's something that, food safety has to do in order for me to finish this project, or, there's an extra step that, maybe they'd never thought about before because, there were so many times we had to say, okay, we can, but here's all the things that need to happen in order for us to do this. And I think just getting people thinking about it even promotes, getting closer to that, best in class, almost perfect, processes. So it's just like the thought process of it is what's bringing food safety culture to another level.
Yeah. Mara, that's such a good point. I always say, your food safety culture is moving forward when other people are talking about food safety when you're not in the room. Yeah. Or they bring in your solutions where it's like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and this is what I've thought about from a food safety standpoint. I want to come to you to see if do you have anything else to add? Am I thinking about this differently? And like they're in operations or they're in maintenance or
or you're having a meeting with the product development marketing team and like the marketing team and R&D steps up and says, from a food safety perspective, we just can't do that. And I'm like,
yes.
That's a win.
That's when you know. That's when you know that things are happening and culture is moving. And it's really that integration, right, of food safety and quality where other functions are ringing that food safety bell, right? Like they're stopping things and saying, no, that doesn't sound right from a food safety standpoint, and so like that's when you successfully communicated the risk, you successfully communicated the importance of food safety and the why behind it, and people are now committed to food safety and singing the praises and having conversations about it. Like that's when and that's why we focus so much on those soft skills of communication, of influence, of understanding yourself and your team and how you interact with non-technical roles. That's why we focus there, because we want them to talk about food safety even when we're not in the room.
Yeah, that was awesome. Wow, I can't believe I just looked up and I'm like, we've already been chatting for almost 50 minutes, which is amazing because, like I said, it goes so fast. So before we jump to the speed round questions, I'm curious. So if someone right now is listening in and they're like, gosh, this sounds really great, I'm just not sure. What do you like? What would be your advice to others out there going, yeah, I like this idea, but I'm just not sure if it's for us, if it's for our team, if it's for me. Anyone?
I mean, I think for me, like, I think I probably came at it a little bit differently because I was looking to figure out ways, like, and Jill and I had this I mean, it took me a few weeks to get on, like, to decide, right? Because I mean, and we had a lot of conversations about what am I going to get from this? What's the payback? You know, what am I going to see? Like, and then the more I thought about it, you know, it was like, okay, so that's ultimately, I want to be the best leader that I can be. And so how do I get there? How do I be the best that I can be? And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. But I think really, if you're on the fence, it's worth it. It's worth the investment. It's worth the time. It's worth the effort. And I think the other key piece of it, I wouldn't have been so successful if I had not spoken with my boss and said, hey, like, I'm going to do this on a personal level. I want to do this. Are you willing to support me? I'm not going to let it get in the way of my job, but like, here's what I'm like, I might have times where I need to talk to you about expectations or priorities, and like, can we work on this together? And I had that support from her to be able to do that and come to her openly and say, okay, like, this is what we talked about this week. So I'm going to run this by you because here's what I'm thinking. Like, does this work? Does it fit? Is this kind of where I'm supposed to be? And then, and obviously from my perspective with my team, I mean, I hope I set very clear expectations with them that, hey, this is going to help you. And so I'm telling you that if you need to prioritize some time to get this done, like, take it. Just let me know what I need to help you with while you're focusing on this. But I think that extra support, if I, in past lives, if I had tried to do this with different managers, I don't know that I would have been gotten as much out of it as I got out of this time.
Okay,
I think bootcamp really help you and prepare you to go through different challenges that you can have during your work and different approaches. And it just make you understand that there are things that you can control, other than you cannot control, but focus on what you can control and do the best for it. And really, I think this program is for everybody. I mean, people that are moving to a different company, people that want to continue improving in their role in the same company, even people from other departments that want to understand more about what means the food safety role. Like, if you have, let's say, challenges with maintenance, because just to make an example, they are not understanding what is the importance of the food safety culture, what is the value added. Just add them to the program. I mean, I think it's for everybody that wants to prove themselves. And I'm someone that I really analyze myself and I say, okay, Maggie, what is your purpose? Where do you want to go? Okay, which are the steps that you need to get there? The same, I will say, the same investment that you're doing for your college, university, for your technical expertise, you need to do the same thing for your soft skills, because those doesn't you don't learn that just performing a task. You learn that going through experiences and really sharing with other people what you're going through. That's how you learn that. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
For me, I mean, I kind of came in with no expectations because I also had no idea what boot camp was. So, I mean, whether or not you get too much out of it, I think it's just what you put into it. So even if you're not sure if it's for you, I mean, I think no matter what role you're in, or even if you're in food safety or not, it is beneficial because, I mean, it's a lot of like, the prioritization, expectations, soft skills, influencing others, like that's all things that can be used in any department in any industry. So whether or not you're even in food safety, I think it's beneficial just to kind of learning those skills. Because like what Maggie said, I mean, it's soft skills aren't something you can just take a class on and learn. It's giving yourself the tools to be able to apply those in real life situations and see what works for you, what works for others, and kind of almost like plug it in, see if it works, and if not, find something else to plug it into. So, I mean, I definitely think it's, I mean, especially in food safety, we all have that technical background, but doing the boot camp also allowed me to see, okay, there are soft skills that you need in order to be successful, because I mean, no matter what situation you're in, you're always having to work with others who might not have that, you know, that same level of understanding of food safety. So how do you communicate to others that might not have that same, you know, technical background to be able to achieve your goals?
So true. So true. Awesome. All right. Well, we're gonna pivot a little bit away from boot camp because we have speed round questions. Because we love when our audience gets to know our guests just a little bit more, you know, because right, we clearly established that we are leaders in food safety and quality here. So now we're going to ask some other questions. So we're just going to go around like boom, 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 and we're going to go through these quick. All right. So let's see. On my screen, I've got Mara, Maggie, and Amy. So how about we start, Mara, with who's the funniest person you know?
I'd have to say my mom.
How funny.
Yeah.
All right, Maggie.
My aunt, she's a blast. I can be serious when I have her around. So
Awesome. Amy?
My husband.
Yeah, nice. All right, where would you love to go on vacation?
I would love to go to either Italy or Spain. So I'm hoping maybe the next year to 2 years to go to at least one of them or maybe both.
Awesome. Now that things are open.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maggie,
yes.
how about you?
I'm thinking Santorini, Greece. I mean, I was looking forward like so many years ago there. I actually went to Greece, but to Rodi, but I'm looking for Santorini. Just thinking about the caldera, you know, just I mean, it looks beautiful.
Awesome. Amy, how about you?
I've been looking at maybe the Galapagos Islands. It sounds fun. I love sea turtles. Or some of the like aquariums and zoos have research trips where you can go participate in research. So one of those might be fun too.
Amy, I'm from Ecuador, so yes, go to Galapagos. It's beautiful. I went there. I can put you in contact with someone, and
Yeah.
just let me know.
Awesome.
See, this is the community that we love to build.
Right.
Love it.
All right. What's a book that we should all add to our reading list?
Ooh, I really like thriller books. So
Oh wow!
I believe they already, I know they made the movie out of it, but it's oh my goodness, it's The Woman in the Window, I think is the one. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
So it was off of a
good.
book, and I didn't know it was a movie until I saw. I was like, why does this movie look familiar? Like it's like I was picturing things in my head, but I was like, oh wait, it was from a book. So
It was a really good one on Netflix. I watched it.
All right.
good
Thriller.
good book too.
Okay. I'll check
right.
out the book.
Maggie, any books?
Yes, I really enjoyed reading Emotional Intelligence from Goldman. I mean, that was just changed me. Just changed me. It's a long book, I know that, but it changed me. Just not being so focused in just the little things, but just to look at the overall picture and things that you can control or not. So that was a life changing for me.
Wonderful. Awesome. Amy?
So I'm a big Brene Brown fan, as we all know. But I would just say Dare to Lead.
Oh,
That was a really good one.
that's a good book.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. And our last speed round question. We want to know, what is your superpower?
I didn't have enough time to think about this one. But I mean, I guess if I wanted to have something, I could pick what I wanted. I would probably say fly.
Oh, okay. Love it. Maggie?
So I was told a strength. I mean, I am someone that I like challenges. So I always see those like a new opportunity just to improve myself. So I think that one.
Nice. Nice. Amy?
My ability to ask questions. I love asking questions, and I love picking problems apart and processes apart to get to the bottom of them.
Yes.
So
And I had to do the 2 thumbs up because Amy and I talk about this, well, just once in a while.
just want to yeah, my old boss asked me a while back if I still started every conversation with, I have a few questions. Anybody that works with me will know that I am the interrogator because I will ask away.
Mara, are you secretly like, uh-huh? No.
Right.
I didn't see your head move, but I was wondering if it was moving.
Right. Right.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we have enjoyed you all on Real Talk Food Safety this week. And I know the things that you all are saying are things that really the industry is talking about and trying to figure out how to get there. So the fact that you all have prioritized your development and are working towards being even better technical leaders out there, you know, I know we appreciate it, Jill and myself, but then the industry also appreciates that, as well as your teams and the people that you work with. So kudos to you all taking those steps and continuing to take those steps in your development.
Yes. Oh, it's been such a pleasure having you on, because as we've grown our community and our relationships, it's just been so fun to see how you've shifted, where you're going, and we just love you all.
Right.
So
yes, we do. And, you know, for people that are listening, you know, our Early Leader Bootcamp is a part of Catalyst Technical Leadership Development Plan and or path rather. And we talk about all the time is that we meet you where you are. We figure out where you are on your food safety journey, and then we help provide that roadmap to get to where you need to be. And this is a part of our leadership development path. And there's four stages to it. And we would love to send you more information if you are interested, if you want to learn more, if you want to learn more about bootcamp, or if you just want to tell us a little bit about how your leadership development process is going and where your strengths and opportunities lie. Email us at hello@foodsafetycatalyst.com. We do check those emails and respond to the emails and send out information. So please email us and add in the subject, you know, technical leadership, and we'll know exactly what that means, and we'll send you a copy of our path.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, thank you again to everybody and our panel for joining us today for another Real Talk Food Safety. We will be back again next Wednesday at noon Eastern time zone. I'm not good time zoners. Noon Eastern, 11 Central.
Yes.
Until then, we hope you have a wonderful week, and we will be right back here with you next week.
See you all later.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye.